Today, we live in an era where Muslim leadership makes a mockery of the suffering and ongoing genocide in the Holy Land, Palestine. Muslim authorities have almost entirely allied and become the tools of the Israeli state. King Abdullah of Jordan has even stated, "I will no longer sell tomatoes to Israel." But only a little over 100 years ago, an honorable sultan made it his mission in life to protect Palestine, even if it cost him his throne and the entire empire. His name was Abdulhamid II. Until the last quarter of the 19th century, the agenda of the Ottoman state did not include a Jewish-related Palestine issue. Jews continued to live as a comfortable minority on Ottoman territory. They did not have any problems because they were not a majority in the state and did not engage in separatist movements. This situation began to change with the foreigners who wanted to settle in Palestine after the War of '93. Jews began to migrate to Ottoman territory due to increasing anti-Semitism in Europe and the mistreatment of Jews in Romania and Russia. As a result of the decisions taken in the War of '93, thousands of Muslims took refuge with the Ottoman lands, and thousands of Jews came with them. As a result of the Jewish migration, which was supported by individuals and organizations such as the famous and rich Jewish Rothschilds, the Colonization Union, and Zion lovers established by Baron Hirsch, around 30 Jewish settlements were established in Palestine between 1882 and 1908. When the Jewish Baron Marius the Hirsch died, he bequeathed 250 million francs for the establishment of a Jewish homeland. At the time, Jews were being persecuted all over Eastern Europe and in Russia. Hirsch pictured Argentina as this homeland. Argentina was accepting immigrants from all over the world. An association was formed to carry out Hirsch's will, but the association did not see Argentina as a suitable location for this purpose. And when Theodor Herzl intervened in the issue of the Jewish homeland, Argentina was no longer part of the equation and was completely excluded, and thus, the issue no longer became about a homeland for the persecuted Jews of Eastern Europe, but as a homeland for all Jews. Palestine was proposed as the location of that homeland. Based on this proposition, the Jews decided to approach Sultan Abdul-Hamid. They demanded that Jews be allowed to establish a homeland for themselves in Jerusalem. Baron Edmund de Rothschild was behind this move. However, the Sultan responded, "Palestine is a place with many sites of religious significance. It has become a land of ambitions and political aspirations. Every year, the country faces several issues between the different churches during their festivals. If I add the Jewish question to these issues, the outcome is obvious." Therefore, the Sultan refused the request, and the representative of the Austrian Zionists returned to his country. Hosamatin Ataturk writes, Herzl and the chief rabbi presented their request in a meeting with the Sultan, and they indicated that the Jews' thinking was in establishing an independent Israel in Jerusalem. Sultan Abdul-Hamid failed to contain himself and expelled them from his presence. Historians say that this prevention cost Sultan Abdul-Hamid dearly and claimed his throne, and this later led to the collapse of the entire Ottoman Empire. The Jews believed that the Palestinian lands were promised to them by the divine power. Theodor Herzl would be the person who turned these beliefs of the Jews into a political movement. Herzl had begun to disseminate his ideas about the Jewish state he had been thinking of since 1895. He spoke of his ideas to various statesmen or wealthy Jews who extended a helping hand to the Jews. To this end, he had made diplomatic meetings with German, British, and Ottoman statesmen, even visited the Vatican, but had not received very positive answers. The Sultan even responded to Herzl's request saying, "I do not sell land, even an inch, because this country is not mine to sell. It belongs to my nation. My nation has harvested this country with their blood. This will be repeated before it can leave us." The members of my Syrian and Palestinian regiments were martyred one by one in Plevne. All of them remained on the battlefield, not a single one returned. The Turkish state does not belong to me, it belongs to the Turkish nation. I will not part with any of it. Let the Jews put their millions away. When my state is disintegrated, they can seize Palestine for nothing. However, only our bodies can be divided. I cannot allow surgery on a living body. Although Herzl could not provide direct support from the major states in Europe, he continued to pursue a political solution while encouraging the financial organization of the Jews. The Zionist Congress, which he had started in 1897, gathered regularly every year. Herzl once again offered that in exchange for this, the Jews would provide the services and assistance that would alleviate the state financial troubles that resulted from its foreign debts. However, the Sultan only opposed this proposal further, decreeing that no Zionists shall be allowed to enter Ottoman lands, and that they should return to where they came from, and that the office responsible for real estate was not to sell the land to immigrants in Palestine. Thus, the Zionists took extreme measures against the Sultan. A Swedish crypto-Jew by the name of Eli Nuri proposed to Herzl requesting the following: 2 battleships costing no more than 400,000 Ottoman gold liras. The complete mission would cost no more than 500,000 liras, which would leave 100,000 Ottoman gold liras. It would require the deployment of 1,000 men. The battleships would enter through the Bosphorus and destroy the Yildiz palace, lead to the arrest of Sultan Abdul-Hamid, or eyes could be averted of an escape. We would replace him with another sultan and announce an interim government, by means of which the Jews will obtain Palestine. Herzl did not go through with this scheme because he feared that there would be a massacre of his fellow Jews in the Ottoman Empire if the plot failed. It is important to note that Sultan Abdulhamid II should not be taken for an anti-Semite. He was known for his realistic rather than emotional approach to problems. The term anti-Semitism has no place in Muslim Turkish culture. All the precautions taken during the period were about the integrity of the country, not a particular community. Back then, the Ottoman Empire was home to the world's largest Jewish population, who lived freely. Thessaloniki, which was then part of the Ottoman Empire, was then the biggest Jewish city in the world. Abdulhamid Han once said, "The Israelites can be admitted to the Ottoman state, provided that they settle in a dispersed way to be appointed by the government, accept Ottoman nationality, and fulfill all their citizenship duties." Sultan Abdulhamid Han declared the whole of Palestine his personal property in the face of these activities of the Jews. He established new railroads and agricultural establishments in Palestine and commissioned a personal military for Palestine. Moreover, in order to strengthen the demographic structure here, he settled some of the Muslims in the Caucasus and the Balkans in Palestine. Although the Sultan had prohibited the sale of land to the Jews, the application did not realize as desired. In 1891, the Ottoman government closed its gates to all the Jews, and in 1892, even though they were Ottoman citizens, they prohibited the sale of land to Jews in Palestine. However, European states opposed this practice. After the Jews had entered Palestine, it was not possible to obtain the support of foreign state agencies that was necessary to remove them. On the contrary, the Jews who understood that they would be expelled from Palestine applied for protection to their affiliated consulates, and the Ottoman government could not do anything due to capitulations. The measures taken by the Sultan in Palestine and the rejection of Herzl's demands would result in Herzl and his friends provoking the Young Turks, Armenians, and Greeks against the Sultan. Sultan Abdulhamid Han knew the plans to establish a Jewish state. He was aware of the fact that the Jews were spreading through the Zionist and Lodge organizations and the plans that they had for the state. Unfortunately, the statesmen who would dethrone him would be fooled and become their tools. When the Unionists seized power, they abolished all the decisions of Abdulhamid Han, which prohibited Jewish immigration to Palestine. Jews who increased their influence in Palestine would stand by the British in the First World War to fight against the Ottomans with legionnaire Jews. The British would publish the Balfour Declaration in response to this service of the Jews, and when the Ottoman state withdrew from the region, the foundation of the State of Israel would be laid. In addition, Sultan Abdulhamid, who saw the practices in Palestine and the invalidity of the policies executed by the Union and Progress Committee, told his doctor Atif Hussein, "I am sure that they will succeed in establishing their own state in Palestine over time." In a letter from Sultan Abdulhamid II, who belonged to the Shadili Tariqa, to the Shadili Sheikh Abu Shamat Mahmud, dating September 2, 1913, Sultan Abdulhamid said, "I quit being Khalifa because of the oppression and threats by the Young Turks. This group insisted that I approve the establishment of a Jewish state in Palestine. I rejected this proposition. They finally offered 150 million British gold pieces. I rejected this as well, and I told them, I would never agree with you even if you offer not 150 million British gold, but all the gold in the entire world. I served the Muslim community for more than 30 years. I did not let my forefathers down. Following my final response, they agreed on my dethronement and sent me to Thessaloniki. I prayed to Allah. I did not accept to establish a new state on Palestinian lands, on the Ottoman state and the Islamic community." By 1947, more than half of the population in Palestine was Jewish, and a significant part of the territory belonged to them. The next step was independence. Jewish gangs forced the British to evacuate the area. The decision that came out from a referendum was to establish a Jewish state, and the UN confirmed this in 1948. The Ankara government was among the first to accept the decision.